They leave the bubble to wake up Europe to the next era of globalization.
What these guys are doing is so important because we really do have to open our minds. We have to listen, we have to learn.
Those guys shows that the dream of Europe is not over yet.
Cooperation of continents to foster peace, to protect our environment, to create a sustainable future.
It has a symbolic value of showing other young people and not so young that this new world is rising.
A great initiative inspiring many young people.
而他们正是这样一群青年，用自己的爱、勇气和热情去消除偏见，播种友谊。
Europe Guest Silk Road è niente altro che la nuova edizione di Marco Polo.
The Silk Road has already connected cultures and ideas 1,000 years ago and is now rising again. The biggest connectivity project in human history is reshaping our world.
A holistic analysis of Asia and Europe.
Building bridges between science, economy and culture.
Connecting people's perspectives live.
What is the most important thing in life? Dear ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to all of you who attend this festival, and thank you for your interest in our initiative, Europe Goes Silk Road. And special thanks, of course, for the uniting force of Dennis Daniilidis, who shows how close we can get to each other and celebrate tolerance if we just want to. Even if we think we are so distant from each other, and even in the times of a global crisis. My name is Sebastian Holler, co-founder of Europe Goes Silk Road, and today I will take you with me on a quest. It is a very personal one, but also a common one. It is an exercise in understanding the other and ourselves, by recognizing ourselves in the other. It is a quest for what makes us human. But first, let me begin with how everything has started. We are a very diverse team of 4 friends: a civil engineer, a PR expert, a computer scientist, and a global historian. We started our initiative about 4 years ago because we identified a need for a uniting force along the newly emerging Silk Roads. For us, this meant explore the entire geohistorical exchange network that once connected Europe and Asia. That's why we traveled by car, train, ship, and plane from Austria, the heart of Europe, via several detours and over 68,000 kilometers, that's 1.5 times around the globe, towards China. Our vision of the Silk Roads is not about particular countries and their interests. It is much more about reaching out to each other, cross-border cooperation and reconciliation, in order to shape a common future of peace and prosperity for all of us. Because the one cannot exist without the other, whether prosperity without peace, nor nations without its neighbors. And therefore, the Silk Roads are an important visionary soil in which such developments can be planted, grow roots, and in the end, the fruits can be commonly harvested and shared. The Silk Roads are more than concrete and iron infrastructures. They are about ties in their very essence. We drew our vision from 3 inspirations, summarized in the 3 words: discover, connect, exchange. First of all, from the discoveries and mindset of the great Jacek Palkiewicz, the famous Polish explorer who was born in a Nazi labor camp, who crossed the Atlantic Ocean alone in a lifeboat, who trained cosmonauts how to survive in space, and who discovered the Amazon river source. Thus, he made us understand how imminent it is to experience on your own, go on site and discover. Secondly, from the scientific and popular books of Bruno Massage, Peter Frankopan, and Yuval Harari. Their narrative style and impetus made us understand how important it is not only to explain where we are heading to as a human society, but also to overcome the gap between science and society, and thus to connect. And last, but very much not least, our third inspiration derives from a positive attitude towards collaboration with people of all perspectives, which is represented by the initiative Heart on Point. Their networking approach of the so-called hard working made us understand how important it is to use our brains and hearts when we meet others to exchange. By the way, this is our team from the right to the left: Florian, Max, Sebastian, and myself, Sebastian number 2. And in the back, our expedition car, the Green Mamba. You will see later more from her. These 3 inspirational sources are defining the motto of Europe Goes Silk Road: discover, connect, exchange. Discover means understanding Eurasia through a holistic perspective, whether it's infrastructure or digitalization, or whether it's environment, like here in the Aral Sea, or energy, the Persian Gulf, whether it's history in Volgograd, or tourism near Dunhuang, whether it's resources in Baluchistan, or security as well in Baluchistan. Connect means for us explaining the topic and raise awareness for a public discourse, and therefore come down from the ivory tower to reach audiences from regional media outlets to international ones. Our website, europegosilkroad.eu, is our major tool of communication, where one can find information on the old and new Silk Roads, as well as on our initiative. And you can get in touch with us and send us your requests. Via social media, we try to make the on-site expedition more graspable and serve the Silk Road in your pocket. Exchange means for us meeting the experts. Thus, throughout our initiative, we exchanged with numerous experts from different fields who joined us. But not only persons, but also organizations that support us. The final goal here is to establish a platform for transdisciplinary exchange called EasyROS, the International Silk Road Society. This approach of Discover, Connect, Exchange was conducted along our entire corridor of understanding. You can see it here in yellow. Today, we will immerse into the world which binds us all together, into Connect. Let us now set out on a journey, together to our all common heritage. First of all, one has to say that this journey I'm going to show you is not in a chronological order, so it consists just of glimpses into our experiences in 24 countries and 8 months along the Silk Road. It is just the first foretaste of a series of lectures we are going to start this autumn. And we hope you will also be with us then. What's the most important thing in life? Do you remember this question with which I started this presentation? Let's search for the traces of the answer by following our thinkers. I travel third class because there is no fourth class. Mahatma Gandhi. This saying from Gandhi is symbolizing simplicity and equality. That's why we followed a very simple lifestyle during our 8 months on the road. For this time, the Green Mamba was our home. We lived there, drove inside there, we ate inside, and it was our daily home, and it was part of our small family. We also ate cheap and cooked very often ourselves in order to be independent. But it was not only about living simply, but also about death. Because in the end, it is clear that all humans are born equally, as the Declaration of Human Rights says. We come with nothing and we will go with nothing. In Hinduism, people are cremated at the riverside of the holy Ganges in Varanasi, in India. But we were also able to experience death on our own, in the nuclear wasteland of Semipalatinsk in Kazakhstan. It was here where the first atomic bomb of the Soviet Union exploded. It was the beginning of the balance of terror and the imminent annihilation of humanity during the Cold War. Here we got the feeling of being exposed to high levels of radiation. The fear of death shook our bones. We are now approaching ground zero of the Soviet Union. Without stones, there is no arch. Marco Polo. This quote is symbolizing helpfulness and hospitality, which we experienced along our entire trip. Vladimir from Astrakhan in Russia, who repaired our V-belt, stands here as a symbol for all of those great people that helped us when we were in need. Whether it was a multinational team that tore us out of a salt lake in Iran, or locals that gave us shelter along the Karakoram Highway in Pakistan, the highest road in the world. Wherever you go, Go with all your heart. Confucius. This saying symbolizes love, open-mindedness, and curiosity. All humans have their myth of love. The Caucasus knows the story of Ali and Nino. The steppes of Kazakhstan, the tragic story of Aisha Bibi. Until nowadays, people pray in her tomb for love. When Florian and I entered the train to Tibet, our free time was over. Dozens of people wanted to speak with us, welcomed us to their homeland, and wanted to take pictures. But not only in Tibet, also in central Pakistan, we were very warmly welcomed. There we attended a funeral in the mystic town of Ud Sharif, and after the ceremony, we showed the people our route. Everywhere, people were very curious about our goals and about what we are going to do. Only the beautiful stars do I envy. Only their place would I willingly take. Michel Lermontov. We are all looking towards the stars in order to find guidance for our past, our present, and our future. When the Silk Road was at its climax, the famous astronomer Ulugh Bek looked from Samarkand towards the sky. Still nowadays, the stars can guide us the path through remote areas like here, the Pamir Mountains. Later, we looked with gigantic radio telescopes deep into space in order to get in contact. And in the end, with Yuri Gagarin, we started our journey to leave the Earth one day in the steppe of Kazakhstan in Baikonur. But in the end, we're always at home when we look towards the sky. The night guard of the UNESCO World Heritage Archaeological Site of Merv in Turkmenistan asked me how the moon looks like from my home. I answered, just like from here. Traveling, it gives you home in 1,000 strange places, then leaves you a stranger in your own land, Ibn Battuta. This saying is symbolizing our changing mindsets after traveling. Why a stranger in your own land? Because when you have lived in several houses, made several friends all along different countries, your identity is widened. We feel not home anymore in one national identity, but in one global human one. Because when you now look at a once distant place, you have a connection with that place which makes you feel home. Travel is the bridge between you and everything. Rumi. For me, this saying stands for all the communalities traveling brings to the daylight. Architectural styles and tastes travel like the minds of the people, like here in Baku, where modern architecture meets the old heritage of the Silk Road. But modernity is not only a matter of the center, as we often might think. When Savitsky saved numerous works of Soviet modern art in the remote city of Nukus in Uzbekistan, he made the desert blossom. Handicrafts like carpets are not only household items, but much more a medium expressing a society's feelings. Afghani women are weaving war carpets in order to cope with the disastrous violence in their country. Carpets are also empowering us, whether it's a poor Baluchi tribe or minorities in other countries. Sports show how we all cherish victory and defeat. We want to fight for our own fortune. Sports create heroes. In Central Asia, the horse rugby with a beheaded goat is among the most famous. It is called kokboru and played almost everywhere, in stadiums and on the vast steppe. The Kyrgyz player Manas Niazov is the Central Asian Lionel Messi and an idol of hard but fair sportsmanship for younger generations. Celebrating is one of humans' most popular actions. Across the globe, we celebrate weddings like here in the remote Tajik Wakhan Valley, or on the river of the Ganges in Varanasi, or holy festivals like here in the very pious city of Qom, Iran. And if we find some spare time, we sometimes just celebrate life with whoever we meet. But drinking and food is not only about celebrating, but it is our spiritual and cultural nurture. People all over the globe, for instance, enjoy fresh tea, like here from Darjeeling. But also stuffed dumplings are found from Georgia until China. But China has also some extravagant food, of course, like cooked chicken feet. Except the chicken feet, we never really experienced a so-called cultural shock. Because we traveled slowly on the ground by car, got to know each country, region, and people one by one. It was a gradually changing culture. And thus, we not only got acquainted with the local food traditions, but also with local bureaucracy. When you go by a green camper car across Eurasia, the famous saying, so many countries, so many customs, becomes quite literally. As a citizen of a country with a long imperial history, for which bureaucracy is an endless love story, and of course also as a citizen of the European Union, I thought I have seen everything. But I was proven wrong. Now I know better. But besides the paperwork, it also showed how important open borders are in order to cooperate and unite. We had 29 border checks during our trip. As Europeans, we had forgotten how it feels to live with borders. Like the unification of Europe in the second half of the 20th century, the Silk Roads can be a vision for the future which could also one day promise free movement of goods and people. Still, even if borders divide us, in fact, we are not so distant from each other. But in order to pay tribute to geography, climate, history, and language, we define small differences which identify our very selves in this world. Then we acted according to, let's say, another famous saying. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. We experienced these differences, but in fact realized that they are not so severely different. We can always find differences if we are looking for them. But we can also find commonalities if we are looking for them. It depends on what we want to look for. Do we want to divide or unite? Religion is always regarded as a dividing force. But what do all faiths have in common? In the basic essence, they are giving meaning to our complicated and confusing world. Whether we follow Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, Hinduism, humanism, capitalism, or communism, these are only offsprings of our one common religion. Our religion is humanity. But what does it mean to be human? What is the most important thing in human life? What is the most important thing in your life? In order to find the answer to this allegedly simple question, we ask those who should know it. The humans. After our journey through diversity, we can assume now that each human is somehow unique, born in different social circumstances, grown up in a different cultural environment, different socialization, different mindset. Infinitely different answers. We were on the brink to prove infinity. Then we started asking and asking and asking. After over 160 persons from all ages, social classes, jobs, religions, and political ideologies, we were astonished at the outcome. By far, the most people told us that the most important thing in life is family. The smallest of all social connections, and still, through it, we are all connected with each other across the globe. The longer we traveled and the more we were trying to make sense out of what we have seen, the more we realized that all nations together need to collaborate in order to solve the most pressing issues of our time. When the United Nations adopted the Sustainable Development Goals in 2016, such a blueprint for striving for common goals was presented. During our journey, we experienced every problem these goals are targeting, and we felt the need for the implementation with our very brain and heart. We understood from our experience that we need a new approach to accomplish this plan for a sustainable world. Our answer is the 3E approach. Expertise. Knowing means asking the people who know. Education. Shaping the future means passing on your knowledge. Experience. True understanding means experiencing with your 7 senses. This is what Europe Goes Silk Road stands for. Let me now come to my concluding words. A message of tolerance to the world. We traveled through 24 countries, overcoming prejudices, putting trust into strangers. Those things became our daily routine. Until we had reached the point where no country was considered abroad anymore. This journey showed us to which great individuality humankind is capable, and how many facets humanity entails. But we were surprised when we realized the peoples which share the same culture of eating, singing, and laughing, when these people think they need to be enemies, only due to a game of power played in the past. It is this moment when the past is locking your future. Now one could say, it is easy for me to say so, because I won in the lottery of birth. I live in Austria, one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Freedom, democracy, you name it. I have it all. But you have to imagine what is on the other side of this alleged perfect picture. It's an identity drowned in genocide. In school, I didn't learn how my holy father or motherland was raped and destroyed by its enemies. No. I learned what crimes my ancestors had committed. My history lessons were not characterized by sparkish national glory and pride. No. Instead, we learned to face up to our past. I was never told that war was a glorious act of power. No. We learned that the most powerful behavior is to forgive, but not to forget. That's why I became a historian. We can only learn from our own mistakes. We cannot change others. We can only change how we act. This means first you have to acknowledge your own faults. If you decide to live in grievance, you will never be happy. It's a vicious circle my country already went through in World War I. But my people has this already realized. But after World War I, they didn't learn from its mistakes, and the outcome was World War II. I'm not here to lessen anyone. It is the very personal appeal of a kid growing up in the knowledge that its ancestors conducted the most monstrous crime in human history, the Holocaust. Can you imagine how it feels to be a descendant of a generation full of genocidal perpetrators and followers? Austria sparked 2 world wars, and now, 75 years later, we are among the most peaceful countries in the world. In fact, we are ranking number 4. How was this possible? We learned that the lack of tolerance leads to the most inhumane catastrophes humans are capable of. Thus, we don't carry guilt on our shoulders. We carry a mission, which is called Never Again. If an Austrian would have cited a Jew 75 years ago in public, he would have been put in a concentration camp, like the Jew. Today I quote Israeli historian Yuval Harari, who wrote in his worldwide bestseller, Sapiens, "What makes humans unique is their ability to cooperate in large unions." The paradox we're living today is that even if we recognize that humanity's most pressing challenges need us to cooperate, tolerance was never more needed than today, where we face today a severe crisis of tolerance. Just now, COVID-19 is again dividing the international community across the globe in the search for scapegoats. We haven't understood yet that the bigger the crisis threatening entire humanity, the more we should cooperate. Tolerance is the beginning of cooperation. Exactly 75 years ago, we celebrated the end of the World War II, Victory Day. In fact, it was the Allied forces and the nations of the former Soviet Union that woke us up from our dreaming, our genocidal nightmare. You all saved us from ourselves. You saved us for the sake of humanity. You paved our way towards the future. Exactly 70 years ago, on the same day, 5 years later, Robert Schuman laid the founding stone for what was later to become the European Union, a peace project that brought together the worst arch enemies who were in fact brothers. Today we celebrate Europe Day. Thus, May 9th is uniting us all, whether we celebrate Victory Day or Europe Day. It is the time to think about how we can overcome hatred and mistrust. Z Dniem Pobjedy. Happy Europe Day. And today, decades later, the vision of the Silk Roads can unite us all, the nations of Europe and Asia. We're all here, brothers and sisters, united by the shared human value of tolerance. Thank you for your kind attention.
Götterfunken Tochter aus Elysium. Wir betreten feuertrunken himmlische dein Heiligtum. Deine Zauber binden Lieder, was die Mode streng geteilt. Alle Menschen werden Brüder, Bruder, ein sanfter Flügel.